You are always being watched, you're always being seen, and you don't think that some fan that's mad at Podunk Little League School or whatever that you're at doesn't do the same thing, search YouTube, X, all that stuff, and find you? They do it.
Yeah, you're being
Especially,
watched, you're being seen, you're being assessed every time you take the field.
You're listening to the Strike 3 podcast, your source for taking your umpiring to the next level. And here are your hosts, CB, Colin Brown, Enoch, Eric Nakagawa, and Travis Witt.
Well, welcome to another splendid edition of Strike 3 Podcast. I'm CB.
I'm Enoch.
And Travis is on assignment today. It's been a long time since we've had a podcast, unfortunately, hasn't it, Enoch?
It's been a minute.
Yep. So just for all the listeners out there, so we had a meeting amongst ourselves about a month and a half ago, trying to decide whether we were going to continue with the podcast or not, and we decided to continue with it. But you're going to see definitely some significant changes within our show. We're going to include video here shortly, beginning with this in particular podcast. We're also going to be shortening the episodes to anywhere from like 35 to 45 minutes, so that way we can put out more content a little bit more often. So that's pretty much where we are. Eric, catch us up. How was your
It
summer?
was busy. My wife thought July 31st the season ended, and she didn't realize it, or didn't remember, or didn't want to remember. It goes on for a while. Couple week break, college fall ball starts, and it seems up here it's new for California. It seems like 75% of the high schools now have fall baseball.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Wow, because it didn't used to be that way.
No, so it's trying to. Phil Ross is getting guys that get up, and it's an opportunity to be seen and get relevant, work on your skills, expand your network. And guys are going, no, I'm happy working this high school game, 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah, normally the people in the fall, especially, and most of the fall stuff's freebie stuff. For me, I mean, I don't mind traveling or anything like that. I just got used to it and being part of the game and everything.
Well, they were paying for most of the high school stuff. It was like $70 a guy looking for two umpires. So it was something. It was
Yeah,
gas
for
money.
sure.
And
Yeah,
it's only 15 minutes from your house. Even a big gas guzzler can get there and back on. No, it was good, and did a lot of work trying to help evaluate guys, and hopefully some guys can step up, make the jump up from high school into junior college. That next jump to Division II, though.
that's a huge jump that we'll get into in the show for sure. So today's topic is staying relevant as an umpire. And I can't think of a more important time to have this discussion. I heard these group of gentlemen that we're about to talk to talk about this probably about 8, 9 months ago. It struck me so much that I knew that we had to have them on the show to talk about it, especially in places where, Eric, you were just saying, where the gap is huge. Wherever you're at, if you're cursed by geography, a little bit like we are in Northern California, where all the gentlemen that we have on the show today are from Southern California, where they have junior college, NAIA, Division III, Division II, Division I. They have the whole gamut. Up here in Northern California, we have junior college and Division II. There's no Division III. There's no NAIA.
But there's one
What?
NAI school
That's right. There's one.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, and I
good
don't know
old
how much.
Simpson.
Yep,
Yeah, good old Simpson, beautiful Reading.
yep,
It's
and
3 hours outside of Sacramento. I mean, that's
it's a little bit of a hike. But I'm sure the guys that live in Northern California that are I mean, up in that area that are NAIA qualified are going to be doing those in particular games. To where the travel doesn't have to be so extensive, and wherever you're at in the United States, if there's a gap kind of like ours, there's no more important of a time to have this conversation, especially with the NC2A change in leadership, maybe to some, if not most, unfamiliar faces in the NC2A leadership now than we've been used to in the past, uh,
and the changing in conferences,
and the changing in conferences for
and the
sure.
changes are not done by far.
Oh, no way.
Um,
Yeah. The pack's going to be back next year. Not this coming year, but in 27, the pack will be back.
What's a new pack?
Yeah. Yeah. Different teams.
But it's
Uh,
also talk about maybe letting football do their own thing and going back to more of a regional.
Yeah, that is in discussion. I heard too.
Just cost wise, I just don't know how they're doing it now.
100%. Let's get to it. Gentlemen, if you all would take turns introducing yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Scott Jones. I'm kind of approaching this one as the director of operations for Black and Blue Umpire Association and the lead Southern California assigner. My personal baseball background is I've been an NCAA Division I official since 2017. I've been a Division II postseason official, regionals and supers since 2022, and I had the NAIA World Series in 19 and 21.
My name's Brad Merda. I've been doing baseball since 2010 or so. I work Division I baseball and down. Been fortunate to have some postseason assignments in Division II and down, and continuing to work towards the next goals that I have set for myself.
My name is David Spigner, Southern California. I've been doing, since high school, I've been doing this about 10 years, and I'm Division II. I have done Division II postseason and down, Bradley, so for a number of years now. So really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks, Dave. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, David.
My name is Pearson Tahuka. I'm originally from San Juan Capistrano, California. However, I reside now in Farmington, New Mexico. Very fortunate, very blessed to be working Division I, Division II. Last year, I think I got my very first postseason assignment. Trying to be here and trying to be a good person. I appreciate y'all having me on here, Eric and Colin. Thank you for doing this.
You bet. Thanks, Pearson.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
I own Thipro, which you may have seen around, and my umpiring experience, I do the Pioneer League in the summer. Been fortunate enough to work a Division II conference tournament, a NAIA conference tournament, and high school state finals in 2 different states. Been umpiring since someone said, "Do you like baseball at work?" And we need umpires. So that's how it started.
Joe Shields, Sherman Oaks, California. Been working Division II for the past 4 years, and fortunate enough to get Division III postseason and NAIA postseason. And thanks for having me. This is a great topic, and happy to get started. Happy to be part of it.
Well, I know we appreciate you all joining us.
Well, everybody, you might be asking why this group of umpires? Why are we talking to these guys in particular? Almost like me and Eric and Travis, these guys kind of grew up together in college baseball. They started out at the Black and Blue umpire camps. They got together and it's like, hey, let's develop together as colleagues, And they were heavily mentored and had just the snot beat out of them, but in a good way. By during the off seasons by D1 umpires like Scott and Neil, who's not with us today. And as a result, as you could hear, they all have some D1 experience or D2 postseason and crew chief. Like Eric and I and Travis, they want to give back in a similar fashion as they were mentored. So appreciate you guys all being here today talking about this. So let me ask, what are some key elements that make an umpire relevant?
Let me jump on this one as a signer. Availability, and being accountable.
Did you say something about availability?
I think so. Might have been I think that's about 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you 100%, Scott. 100%.
Yeah, I think availability is a superpower of people. If you can umpire to any degree of proficiency and you can earn your assigner's trust, it's a huge, huge component of being reliable. They need to fill those spaces, and knowing that somebody competent and credible is available, manage your calendar well, it's a major plus.
It's something a little different here. I think being and looking athletic is a huge part of umpiring today. RIP to Eric Gregg, right? You think about guys like him 20 plus years ago. I think that coaches, parents, student athletes, and, ball players in general, they want an umpire who looks athletic. And I think you gain credibility the minute you walk onto the field if you look like an athlete.
Tim, do you think that has changed versus years past?
Without a doubt. Availability, like Scotty said, is key, right? Because Scotty's got 100 games to fill this weekend, right? But he also knows where those 100 games are, right? And who his 100 guys are that he has to put on those games, right? And I think if in today's game, if you look athletic and you're available, right, it's going to move you farther along faster than it may have, even 5 or 6 years ago.
And so what also just to expand on that a little bit, what are besides just looking the part, what are the other benefits do you feel of actually looking the part and being in shape, being out on the baseball field as it has changed and as time has progressed and as the game has progressed?
Well, I would tell you that for me, from the time I've started umpiring, the comments that the coaches make when you walk up to the plate meeting is it's meaningful because you can try to remove the bias, right? If you look athletic and you are athletic. I don't know how many times I walked up to a plate meeting and you know the first comment was about, hey, you look like you can move. So at least I got the credibility, and my partners, if they were the same way, got the credibility of, hey, you're not going to be out of position, you're not going to be able to be slow to get to a play. I think that's helpful just to start you out at least neutral.
It's what they don't say that matters. When you get out there, right? Those meetings at the plate, right? Yeah. But I think in the context of what we talk about when we try and pass it on, move it forward, pass it forward, and being reliable, it's really more, hey, make sure that how you manage your technology, RefQuest for us, our Arbiter, and they aren't the same platform here where we're at, as you know. I think what is Arbiter is high school and JUCO, and RefQuest is all the college stuff other than JUCO, right? So you've got to really balance those things, and it's a struggle. I had someone talk to me the other day at one of the I think it was a D2 scrimmage, and he was saying that, hey, I don't know what my wife's schedule is going to be, and so I can't really manage that moving forward because it can be unpredictable. That's unfortunate. It's complicated for assignments.
Not only that, Colin, Eric, it's going to make you more confident as you're on the field, as you're making your calls, with your demeanor, with your body language, with the way you handle situations. If you're trying to get to that level, for them to put you on camera, for them to put you on FS1 or Bally's, whatever one wants to be on, you have to look the part. You have to look the part. It's unfortunate. Sometimes it's very hard to breathe it all in, to take it in, be like, oh, I really got to get in the gym. And it all starts in the office.
Oops.
Remember, Pearson's driving to New Mexico. So.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Ran into a dead spot.
No, but I got your
honest with you.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
You're out.
He's breaking it. The other thing I think kind of where he's getting at too is, these college coaches, especially at the Division I, D2, D3 level, they got 18 to 22-year-olds. And that's how old they are every year.
Yeah.
We are not. We keep getting older. So the more you're in shape, you got to be able to catch these kids, and they're quick.
And they're getting quicker.
I think one of my core memories of umpiring is the first time I stepped on a college field, and I was in A, and there was a base hit to the outfield that was going to be a double. And I remember the sound his cleats made as he ran across the crushed brick. And I think he is moving. And if I don't move, I'm not going to be anywhere where I need to be. And just the speed of the game at that level just forced me to go, wow, this is different. This is different.
Yeah, the train's coming. You better get off the track.
So since we're talking about look and feel out there, look more than anything, the appearance out there, I can use myself as an example. When I first started doing the camps with people like Scotty, I was probably more like 240 to 250 pounds. I remember going to one camp and I had lost all of that weight. I was down to like 195. And I remember Billy Hayes coming up to me going, you look different.
Yeah, and it
I
makes a
bet you
difference.
felt different too.
But that was a conscious effort, and frankly, that's
Mhm.
it's hard for people to do that. It's a decision, and it's a lot of work, and you've got to have that stick to itness, if you will, or that willpower to be able to do it. And you have to understand it can make a difference, and it certainly has made a big difference for me.
It's a commitment for sure, especially I mean, I can speak for myself. You know, when you work 14 hours a day, especially if you work in a job that is stagnant, where you're sitting most of the time, you really got to be inventive to get your work in, especially when you don't get a normal lunch break or anything like that, to where you can maybe get on the treadmill or work out with kettlebells. You got to do stuff at your desk to enable you to get to that level to where you will be effective on the field.
Stand-up desk, man. Stand-up desk is a big, it has more of
Yeah.
an impact than you may think.
Yeah,
We want
100%.
everyone to stay safe out there, Colin. You know what I mean? So the more active you are, and you know when you're, and if you're not being active, and now you got to go up all the way to first base, and you haven't ran since 2 or 3 months ago. Us as umpires are at the average age. I don't even know what the average age, but 35 to going all the way up. That's it. And you're not using your muscles. Something can fail. Achilles, hamstrings, all that kind of stuff. We want you to stay safe out there, and the more active you are in the gym, the more you keep yourself safe out there on the field.
Wholeheartedly agree with that.
Good point. I've certainly been hurt, so it's a good point.
I think everyone on this call, every game we do is on video, right? Most of the games we do are on TrackMan, right? And let me tell you, that coach in the other dugout, he doesn't care that you saw 250 pitches and you're tired.
Yeah.
He expects that consistency, that level of focus in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th inning, right? That you gave him in the first. And if you're in better shape, if you're more active on your off days, then you're going to be able to maintain that focus and maintain that stamina and not, have everything fall apart on you because the game went long.
Under more scrutiny than we've ever been before
Mm-hmm.
with technology and everything like that. And of course, coaches, telling your assigner, it's like, hey, this guy was lazy to the ball or something to that effect.
I always try to tell new college umpires, junior college, they've worked high school. You better be ready for innings 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then allow them to hit that wall somewhere around the 7th inning, and it's like, ooh, okay, strap it in now.
And it's especially hard when you got games, and this is more prevalent in junior college, I think, than anything else. Where you have those really lopsided games that are 14-2 by the 7th inning. You're 3.5 hours in, and it's hard to maintain that focus when the ball is
only 14-2. You're being kind.
I am being kind, yes. At the same time, when scores are lopsided like that, it does give us the opportunity to refocus and maybe start to work on something that we've been meaning to work on. And it could be a multitude of different things, but when scores are that lopsided, it gives you an opportunity to really, refocus and work on something that you really want to work on and get better at.
Colin, I'll be honest with you, that's not a unique thing to JC. That's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. I've got a couple box scores that were 30 something to 1 or 2. So
bless America.
And those are the ones, your TrackMan reports going back to your conference administrators.
I also try to remember, even without the TrackMan, when the scores get that lopsided, that's when they clear the bench. The kid who actually stars at left bench is going to get a couple at bats and take the field. I don't want to completely crush him, but by calling, strike 2 in the other batter's box, you couldn't hit that with a paddle. So you still have to work. And you're right.
Yeah.
It's only because of your height you can't hit that with a paddle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You know it.
Brad and I got that covered. Tim's got that covered. I don't know about you, though.
I might need an oar.
Just another reason they need mercy rule at every level.
Every level.
No,
I agree.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Including independent ball. Well, that Pioneer League.
Oh God, yes.
We had a couple games there too. At 18-2, and that guy's, his stats matter, so he can try to get signed. That's you can't take those pitches off.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's
Nope,
actually
you
good
can't.
training for us, but yeah, you wish that there was a mercy rule so we could just go ahead and move on to the next day.
Yeah, that game's over. That point is just stats. And you're right. They bring in the guy playing left bench. You bring him up on a bad strike three. That could be his last at bat.
Yeah, yeah, those guys. I mean, their stats
He,
matter to
he,
them.
he may not be there tomorrow. So
Exactly.
don't want to be my fault. Well, here's an interesting one. If we pivot to this one, is what do you think they mean when they tell an umpires don't pose a risk?
It's it's broad perhaps, but on the other hand, it's for me it's very clear. We have assigners, their reputations are on the line. We have a crew. Each individual on the crew and the crew as a whole has a reputation. Um, there's a whole umpiring community. And so if you are somebody, and I think we all know different people of these sorts, unfortunately, who I don't know if I can just say it. Maybe others can chime in. Or maybe you talk too much, or maybe you say things that are inappropriate. Maybe you're a jokester too much. Maybe you don't know when to be serious. Maybe you're doing things that are not necessarily appropriate at the school off the field.
Inappropriate.
Let's say for a
Risk
second
management.
that you have a reputation of making calls on the field that are not with NCAA rule thoughts. Or as David said, maybe you're a possible problem in the locker room or in the parking lot or whatever it might be. So don't pose a risk to your crewmates. Always understand that there's a hierarchy within the crew for a reason, and you're put within that crew for a reason. And it doesn't matter if you're working NCAA baseball or if you're working high school baseball, Pioneer League, as some of these guys talk about, or anything. There's a reason you're put where you are put.
I mean, let's say you did everything right about the reliability piece. You've managed your calendar well. You took the game, and you show up half an hour late from when your crew chief told you to show up. That's putting your crew at risk. I don't think
Just
so.
gonna bring that up, David. Being on time, not being on time or not showing up. You don't want to be that umpire that, just totally forgets about a game and then have it continuously happen one or two times a season. You can't, that's causing a risk. That's the assigner looking at that umpire like, well, I don't know if he's going to show up. So I don't know if I can assign him in that game, or I don't know if I can give him that weekend. So that's a start right there too. Make sure that you're there, but within a reasonable time that the crew chief wants to, if you're like there 5 or 6 minutes later, then maybe that crew chief's gonna be like, oh, I appreciate it. It's okay. That's 5, 6 minutes. But now we're talking 45 minutes, just like David just said. That's a problem. That could cause a risk because now the crew chief doesn't know. And if you're not being communication, be communicative with your crew. And if your crew chief texts you something, make sure you text them back, or make sure you text the crew message back. It all starts right there.
Positive decisions like Pearson just talks about will keep you relevant.
Keeping your nose clean off the field, because more people have lost their schedules, lost their avocation doing this fun. For some of us, it's a profession, but for most of it's an avocation. Most people don't get fired for having a big blunder on the field. I mean, your big blunder on the field has to be so far that you maliciously hurt somebody, basically, to get fired. You might get your schedule reduced, but you're not going to get fired, so to say. But you do something off the field, DUI comes in huge. I mean, that's an auto fire in the minor leagues. That's an auto fire at the NCAA upper levels. You gotta keep yourself clean on all aspects. I mean, we're seeing a rash go through right now with sports betting now that it's legal everywhere. Guys are getting let go. I mean, we had the first guy to call a perfect game in the big leagues get let go. A bunch of pitchers and other people are getting hit up, and it's happened a lot at the Division I level. It hasn't quite made its way really to baseball yet, to my knowledge, other than a couple coaches but nobody on the umpiring side. But I know it definitely hit them on the the basketball and the football side. You got to really, we're not looking at it as an assigner. I'm not looking at you as what you do on the field. Yes, that gets my attention, but that's not what keeps you. What do you do off the field? Are you super political and over the top on social media? You're probably going to get dropped. You got family.
There's a couple guys getting reduced schedules. I ain't gonna lie about that.
You got family members that are not family members, but a spouse or a son or daughter that's of that age that's posting stuff that is inappropriate when school administrators are looking at your page, or that kind of stuff. We look at that kind of stuff. I was amazed in the early 2010s that I found myself on YouTube like 4 or 5 times at a local JC down in Central California where I'm at. It was shocking because I was living in Orange County at that time when I drive up to visit my now wife and work a JC game up here in the Central Coast. And, that stuff gets sent to my assigner at the time. That stuff gets sent to the presidents or the ADs of the schools. So you are always being watched. You're always being seen. And you don't think that some fan that's mad at Podunk Little League School or whatever that you're at doesn't do the same thing, search YouTube, X, all that stuff and find you? They do it.
Yeah, you're being watched, you're being seen, you're being assessed every time you take the field.
Especially if you have a unique name, it's easier to find you. So just be very careful.
I know nothing about that. So
thankfully, mine's a little harder to find, but you can still find me.
Yeah, when your name is Scott, you're 100% getting looked at. I don't care what you say.
Well, it kind of leads to the next question. It's we know what people mean by being a good person. What does it mean to be a good person in the umpiring community? I think we touched on some of this already.
I'm going to use one of Neil Turner's lines that he used a lot. Know your role. Sometimes
I've heard that from him.
Yeah, heard that. It's sometimes your role is the crew chief. Sometimes your role is to be the gopher, and you got to figure out which one you're stepping into every game. For the high school, little league, travel ball guys, you're working with a different partner every game versus when you get up to the D3 JC. Well, JC, you guys do it too. The D3, D2, D1, you're working with the same crew all weekend. So you got to know your role, what that crew is. If it's 2-man crew, 3-man crew, 4-man crew, you got to know what your role is. And if you're brand new to it, pretty sure you're the gopher. You don't let the crew chiefs step on you, but you need to be the guy that they want to go hang out with every weekend.
Yeah, I want to expand on know your role in a second, but I'm going to narrow in just a bit more on the good person part. So for me, that they're the same, but they're separate, so to speak, because being a good person is just being likable. I mean, are you somebody that other people want to be around? Do you want to hang out with Spiggy? You know what you're going to get if Spiggy's going to do this, Spiggy's going to do that.
Fair enough.
You know what's going to happen. Versus somebody, if the crew or the crew chief is saying, "Oh, I have that person," and not because of necessarily the risk, just because they don't want to be around you. It's a problem. So be likable. Figure that out. Whether it's with your crew chief, the entire crew, the umpiring community. There are people in the umpiring community who are excellent umpires who are absolutely not likable, and it's a problem.
Really?
No, my goodness. Who knew?
Yeah. One of the things that I think, really in the umpiring community that we as veteran umpires have to do is be approachable, right? Mm-hmm. When you're around a guy who's got 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is, who's trying to move up, and he's working to get better, and he wants to learn, and he asks questions. And, remember that there was a time where we were all in his shoes, right? And, now we have each other, to bounce things off of, to talk situations about. I know on this particular, podcast, Spiggy and Merda and I are fairly close, and we talk about things that happen all the time. And I think those young guys and young gals coming up through the ranks, they need to see that. Not every umpire who's been doing it forever as a D1 guy, a pro guy, whatever, is willing to give back, right? And that young guy has someone to aspire to be. And I hope that there are guys out there who go, man, there's a lot of things I don't like about Tim O'Day, but I hope I can umpire like him one day.
I hardly doubt there's going to be people that don't want to work with a guy like Tim O'Day. The best advice that I can give personally to someone about being a good person is treat people the way you want to be treated, regardless of who they are. If someone's asking you, how they did today, be honest with them. Don't be a jerk about it. You know what I mean? It's you have to approach every umpire a little bit differently. Just like David and Tim were saying, we all started somewhere. When you're with that young person, when you're with that young umpire, you started where that young umpire started. When you're working with the veteran umpire, you want to be where that veteran umpire is eventually. All these schedules are coming out right now. When the crew chief gets his schedule and he doesn't know that person that is on that weekend with him, what does he do? He calls around. He calls umpires. He calls veteran umpires. He calls young umpires. Who's this young guy that I'm going to work with? Who's this other guy? Or who's this new guy I'm going to work with? You want them to be like, oh yeah, I'm working with David. You get to work with David. That's a great guy. You don't want to be that person that says, oh, him. It's so hard.
Good luck. Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. It's hard to not do that. But like I said, treat people the way you want to be treated, and not just your umpiring, the athletic directors, the coaches, the players. Give them the respect too. They're there playing the game that we love. We're there. Everyone shows you have to respect the game. And that's the best thing that I can give you guys is be a good person. Just treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
Maybe it was Bradley, but he talked about approachability, and that so it also translates on the field, right? Because the coaches will believe that you're more approachable, and you will be, and you'll be able to communicate and manage the game better because of that disposition of being a good person. So,
yeah, I think there's another part that we haven't touched on yet, which is, you need to have the maturity to ask for feedback and be open to what you're told. So you can, if you really are sincere about getting better, then ask the people that you're working with to be honest with you, especially if they say, well, I don't really have much, well, what about this particular play? What did you think about that? I would be specific because, there's going to be so many games that you may not walk away with anything, but it's like gold when you walk away with something you can improve on and you're willing to do better. And, I think that's vitally important, even if you don't have the best relationship with that umpire, because there's some veteran umpires that, they big league you when you start. And so if there are guys that are coming up that are going to see this and they're saying, well, what about if, a guy's been around for a long time and, he kind of treats me like I'm second class. Like, hey, just ask the person for feedback. Ask them to be honest with you. You don't have to like them, but they may tell you something that's really important, and you wouldn't want to miss it. So be mature about wanting to get the information and accept it, and then think about is that really true, and then go work on it. It'll just make you better, because if you're sincere about getting better, then you won't worry about who the feedback's from.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point. It's a good point, Joe. And everyone on this call, we all do that. We're all sincere. We all want to get better. We're all in a continuous improvement project. I have never been perfect. So,
would you guys agree with the statement that as some guys are coming up, that there's a gap between technical ability and leadership ability?
Absolutely.
They're not the same. I don't know about a gap.
No, they're definitely not the same.
There's a stifling difference between the guys that go out there right now that can shoot the 98s, 99s on TrackMan. They look like Adonises, what's his face, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, but they have zero handling situation skills. the only way to get those is to get into that handling situation skill. And I know we're kind of getting off into the weeds on that one, but that is part of the, especially down in Southern California where we've got all 5 levels of college baseball. That's what every level is to help you grow, because the more things you see, the more situations you get in, the better you're going to get at it. But it's kind of staying back on to staying relevant, learning how to get out of that hard conversation with a coach, or that hard conversation with a crew chief, or that hard conversation. I've seen a lot of guys get washed away because they're like at clinics, they're a yeah but guy. That's the hard part of it. Is yes, there's a technical difference versus guys that are really good at their spots. They look pretty, they do all the things they need to do, but when the iron gets hot, they don't know what to do,
or they completely collapse.
Sometimes we talk about when we mentor people, we talk about having a superpower, and I know that's a whole session that we did amongst ourselves with people that we mentor as superpowers. And Scott just mentioned one of them. Game management is an absolute superpower. You have that, people like Scott, Billy, the other assigners are going to take note. It's a really critical thing to have on the field. Or being reliable, showing up on time is a superpower. Knowing the rules and being able to execute them on the field.
And the right rule set.
Yes.
With the right rules set. There are a lot of people who know the rules who cannot execute them on the field. They freeze. So
that's true.
You have to be able to execute. So those are sets of superpowers that I think, Scott, get people like you really excited, right? I would think.
Yes, knowing the rules. I am, I'll be completely frank, as a signer for the travel ball level. I don't know the rules very well. I know some tournaments have the drop dead time. Some tournaments have no new after. Some they play under I don't know what rule set. My brain only has enough capacity for one rule set, and that's the NCAA rule set. So,
yeah. How many times have any of us walked up to a game and go, "What rule set we playing?"
Oh yeah.
And you pray that it's one.
Yes. It's like, I'm sorry, I only have so much RAM.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have to fake it if you don't know the rules.
That's right.
I'm still actually operating on a floppy disk, not a not this Wi-Fi nonsense.
Not a solid state. There you go.
So after the plate meeting, when we're breaking up, when we're going to our respective positions, usually someone will say to the plate umpire, "Don't suck." But besides the obvious, is there a deeper meaning behind that statement?
Yeah, try not to put us at risk on the field.
Some of us say stuff like that. I say other things to everybody every time. If I'm the crew chief, it's if you're going to screw it up big enough we can fix it.
I think that in part, because this is now what you're doing on the field, I think is what we're talking about when we say don't suck. So are you a good umpire? Are you a mediocre umpire? Are you a terrible umpire? Let's just use 3 categories. One of the 3. Don't suck means to me, don't be terrible, because and by the way, if you are, fine, as long as you're improving, in my opinion. If you're because Scott will know where to put you, or the assigner will know where to put you as you're improving. But if you suck and you're not improving, you're in trouble. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
I don't know about the rest of the guys, but I love it when those guys, when my partners say that to me, because it just pumps me up. It motivates me. And it gets me locked in, and then trust me, if you guys suck, if we suck that day, someone's going to tell us. Someone's going to let us know. And then now you're really going to find out who can handle situations and who cannot handle situations. And now it's going to know. Now it's, that part where Turner's talking about know your role. That's really going to come in, because that's going to take a part of the game was, hey, do I step up right now, or do I let the crew chief handle this, or should I step up in this rules implication or do I let the crew chief handle it? You got to know your role. Don't suck. It's just trying to tell you, just like Brad said, don't get us in trouble today. Don't, and if we do get in trouble, let's be something easy so we can fix it.
I think Eric said it earlier in this session. We are human. We do make mistakes. All of us make mistakes, right? In fact, one of my mentors, one of my other mentors, once said, "Hey, it's not that I don't make mistakes. I just don't make as many as you." And that's when I sucked. When he told me that, right? when I sucked all the time back then. So all of us, we're going to suck somewhere sometime. We're going to make mistakes, but
Sure.
you cannot do that on a consistent basis. You have to be more consistent, not sucking.
Well, let's take this a step further. The guy pounds you on the chest and says, "Hey, don't suck, or if you mess up big enough, we can fix it." And you have one of those days that it looks like a clear ping pong ball going sideways in a wind tunnel versus the beach ball floating into the strike zone day. And you get done that first before you even ask your partners, hey, it'd be like, man, I struggled back there today. How egregious was I? How many I felt like I grabbed 4 or 5 that were like not even close to the buffer zone. They were in the other batter's box. Am I accurate in my own assessment there? And that typically will, especially if you're working with a guy like myself or with Merda or Pearson, if you come into it with us with that and you're like, oh, we're like, yeah, you were struggling, probably either a couple more or even sometimes it's no, actually you looked really good right there. I didn't see the inside outside stuff. Maybe I saw that you were struggling with the low pitch or you're being too aggressive up top or whatever it is. That's the kind of stuff that puts that right feel from other officials to then they speak well of you. They're like, hey, yeah, he even admitted he had a rough game, but he's working. He's trying to get better. He understands that it's not going to be that beach ball that can, because we've all had those games where like, it's not that, it's like I've said this to a few people. It's the, I've never missed a pitch. I may not have called it right, but I didn't miss it. There's those days where no matter how you call it, it's right because it's just floating down the middle. And then there's days where it's like they're nibbling on the corners and you think you're struggling and maybe you are, so that's the difference. We've all had those days where it's just everything looks perfect. Or days where it looks so hard to see. It's a marble coming at you at 100 miles an hour. You just can't see it. You just got to fight and keep working. But if you can change your mentality or the way that you look at yourself, like, hey, I'm trying, and it shows to your crew, and it shows to your assigner kind of understands it too. If he's there watching you, like, yeah, he's trying to get better. He understood that he had a bad role. That's actually a positive for crew chiefs to see, or for even subordinates to see. If we're working together and I've got a longtime crew chief, like a D1 World Series guy, and I have a crappy plate job, I'm going to tell him I'm going to be the first one on Sunday as soon as that game's on our way to the airport. I'm like, I couldn't see it, man. I was on the struggle bus today. I'm like, did you see something in my stance maybe that could help? And he might have. So that's the kind of things you really got to look at. We're trying to stay in a positive mindset, but we're also trying to stay in a positive form in your crew's mindset as well.
Yeah, I think that's like self-acknowledgement, right? And it's always great when and this is why I love the group of people that you guys have invited here on this podcast today, because every one of these guys will tell me if I suck, and they don't have a problem telling me that I suck. And they have. I remember when Scott told me my zone was so wide you could drive a semi-truck through it. But then you work on it, and if you don't work on it, okay, well, people notice that too.
I want to go back to the don't suck piece of this. Is when people talk about umpires who are not umpires, right? Rarely do they say, "Oh, that one umpire who was working first base, he sucked," right? The comments are, "Man, the umpires were terrible today."
Reflects on the crew.
And it is a reflection on your crew, right? Whether you're the crew chief, the low man, but your work that day, the effort you put in, the focus you have, that reflects on the crew. And I think that's a big part of that don't suck, right? Is when one sucks, we all suck, right? If one guy has a great game, even if the guy at first missed his rotations and maybe blew the 2 whackers that he had, but the plate guy had a great day and the fans loved it, right? They say, "Oh man, those umpires were good," right? They don't see the little things, right? And when we say don't suck, right? That's a reflection on all of us. If you do your job and I do mine, then we'll have a good day.
Now we're back to know your role.
back to know your role, right? Right.
All these things meshed together.
That's exactly right. They go hand in hand. And if Brad and Scotty and myself are on a crew, and I do what I'm supposed to, and I have confidence that Brad's going to do what he's supposed to, and I know that Scotty's going to do what he's going to do, then we're not going to suck, right? Because we're going to work together. And if Scott misses a rotation or reads a ball differently than I would have, I'm going to see him because I'm watching, and I'm going to pick him up. And then we're not going to suck because of that. So I think that's a very broad term, but I think it's a reflection on the crew.
But let's understand also that if you see somebody that is not having the best day, and we'll just put it on the plate, I can tell you countless times I've come down and just said, "Hey, lock in. We got 4 more innings to get us out of here," or whatever the case may be. Just relax.
8 more.
Yeah. Just relax. Call what you see, and let's keep moving forward. We'll get out of here. And typically, things like that will help our crew members, because we are still all a crew. So trying to help each other throughout the whole game to get out of there.
Brad, you bring up a really good point when it comes to telling people something in game versus after. I know there are some umpires that prefer not to be disturbed during the game, during their game, don't want to be told something's awry. And there are some that, like myself, I want to be told in game, because if I go an inning and I'm starting to get off whack on my zone, I'm calling it too high, I'm calling it too low, or in or out, I want to know as soon as humanly possible. I mean, I'm not talking about missing just maybe a pitch or two, but I mean, it's starting to become you can see from the field that's starting to become a problem. And I like to know in game so I can make that in game adjustment.
I've done it between pitches with you.
Yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. See it all the way. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Oh, yeah, right. Boom. Zoom right back in.
I was just going to use something that Scott does when he's in the middle. He's watching the same zone that I am. And he just uses his hand on the side and says, "Hey, keep it right there. You were too far here," or he thought you were too far there, whether or not you agree with him or not, but that's what he's giving you. It's live feedback. Scott does that very well.
So in knowing your role also, you need to know who you're working with and what their expectations are, especially if they're crew chiefs, right? Because not every let's say that Bradley was on play and I thought he was having a bad day, and he's crew chief, which he might well be. I'm likely going to go to him between innings and tell him what I see, but I can do that with him. I can do that with anybody on this call, frankly. But there are a number of crew chiefs you should know you don't mess with them during the game. You know, follow their lead, because that's going to be your role that day. Follow at least one of your roles. You may speaking of roles, you may be there because you're the rules guy. You may be there because you're an up and comer and you're there to be taught. You may be there because you're not even at the same level as them, but you're a good midweek person. You're available, right? There are all kinds of know your role situations. But it's important that you do know your role. I'm not going to step out in front of a big time crew chief and take the lead on a game management situation. They might want to intercept me if it's my problem, where there are other crew chiefs who will say, "You take care of that problem. You know, go grow your own skin.
You dug your hole, you fix it." Yeah.
Yeah, the crew chiefs who will do that. I'm like that. You fix it.
Yeah.
Unless it gets too far out of hand.
Right. And that's also knowing your crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Colin can fix it. Eric, I may want to help him out a little bit. You never know, right? So it just depends what the crew is and what's going on. So got to be able to read the room too.
And it really becomes more of a challenge when you work with people that you've never worked with before. I mean, you could be a crew of 3 or 4 that have never worked together before. And that in and itself presents its own challenges. However, you got to be humble enough to ask the question in the locker room, before, during pregame and stuff like that, just to sort of feel out the guys that you're working with. And of course, if you do your pregame homework also, if you were not working with guys that you're familiar with, just like the crew chief, if he doesn't recognize you, he's going to call around. Just like you, if you don't recognize the guys you're going to working with, you're going to call around.
On that note, though, Colin, I'm going to ask you guys here, like, do you guys, when you get your schedule, do you look at where you're going, or do you look at who you're with, or are you still at the stage of how many games did I get?
To be perfectly honest with you, it's more who I'm working with.
The first thing I do, I don't even, I'm one of those guys that I have my calendar availability set 6 months in advance, and I know what days I need to have off long time before it's there. I put it in. As soon as the schedules come out, I just click accept to everything, and then I go back in. I don't really care where I'm going yet. I go see who my partners are. That's where I'm at. And if there's somebody I don't know, like what we're talking about, I'm going to click on their name, see about where they're from, and I go, ooh, I know so-and-so lives in, by Brad. So let me call Brad and see if he knows who this guy is, and try to work from there.
Great thing to do.
Kind of going back to some of it though, like I kind of briefly brought it up earlier, where if you have a unique name, that works for you, because your name resonates, like Pearson's, because it says Pearson White Cloud on everything.
White Cloud.
It sticks in your mind. It sticks in your mind. So as an assigner, you initially you click over to that. You go, oh, is White Cloud available? Cool. Well, that could also work against you too. So if you have a very unique name, you really need to make sure you're dialed in on and off field.
See you on the next Strike
3
podcast. See ya, everybody.
Oh, before you go, like all good sports officials, we value the importance of feedback. Please rate our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get this podcast. Your rating will help us improve and assist others in finding the Strike 3 podcast. Or please feel free to email us at feedback@strike3podcast.com. That is feedback@strike3podcast.com. Thanks for listening.